All right. Welcome back to our Simple Healthy Life podcast, where today, Ryan, I couldn't be happier to have how would I even identify you? We'll start with my high school wrestling coach, the person that pulled me into the sport, the person that wouldn't let me quit when I wanted to quit, the person that stuck by me the entirety of my career, especially when I was really, really not good. And then after wrestling, the person that continued to coach me and help me through the ups and downs of life, and someone that I'll never not call coach, but is also now one of my best friends in the world, Mr. Ross Ickes. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
It's really an honor just to have him come down and talk. We just give the audience a little bit about kind of the genesis of why he's sitting in the seat right now, and because I know he won't do it, so I'll just bring it up right away. We got the opportunity to catch up, and I saw an article written about him. He is now and will be inducted into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Not an honor that many people ever get.
Wow. And
when I read the article, I thought to myself, there's not a person on the planet that's more deserving to be in this Hall of Fame. And for me personally, I will tell you that it's not about his storied career with wins and losses. For me, it's about the way that he makes the people that he gets the opportunity to coach better. And the high school athletes that aren't, or don't even have any idea how much of an impact that he made on them until maybe they get a little older, and some of the stuff that he preaches comes to fruition, or the teams that he seems to figure out a way to galvanize when, maybe the kids don't even get along at the beginning. And as we know, wrestling is an incredibly difficult sport, and the way that he leads the sport and leads from the front is like nobody else I've ever seen do it.
Wow.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about it all? Wherever you want to start.
I mean, first of all, not for a second the reason why I coach this sport is to get into the Hall of Fame. It's nice. I personally don't feel like I belong in there credentials-wise, but I'm hard on myself too. So I do feel like I reach a lot of the kids. I feel like I get a lot of kids to be, better than they ever thought they could be. And we do win. I mean, we coach to win. We prepare to win. I tell the kids every day, like, we're preparing to win every match. We're not going to win every match. I know that. But that's how we prepare. And I just believe it gets them ready for trying to make them adults, basically. They come in as, kids that just aren't ready for the real world. And I try to, by the time they're seniors, I hope that they'll be ready. And that's more important to me than wins and losses. I take more pride in the 4-year kid that's, maybe is an alternate for states and gets into states his senior year because of an injury or something than as much as I do the state champs. I just think those kids are grinders and they work hard. And that's just kind of what Wakefield's all about and what our philosophy is. And the Hall of Fame is great. It is. And I just never been big on talking about myself or, there's plenty of guys out there that love doing that. And I'm just not one of them. So, I mean, it's kind of just makes me feel kind of uncomfortable, but it's definitely cool. And, and someday if I ever get to go to Stillwater, it'll be cool to see myself at the, on the wall, but, who knows if I'll ever get to Stillwater or not, but maybe it's on the bucket list,
Well, now you got it.
So, yeah, probably. It's tough when you're coaching still, and I don't know when I'm slowing down yet, but it's slowing down, but not quite yet.
So how long have you been coaching wrestling?
I started as an assistant coach in 1990, and I took over as head coach at Wakefield in the 1995-96 season. Wow. So it's basically 41 years total of coaching. So basically right when I got out of high school, I started coaching.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible.
And I got to take over my high school team, which was also kind of cool, and I've been there the whole time.
Yeah.
as head coach, anyways.
Incredible. Well, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that. I know that's like, it must be a little bit of an odd feeling, a little bit uncomfortable to be like, oh yeah, I'm inducted to this thing, but I'm sure not everyone is inducted, so there must be a reason.
No, it's true, and it's, like, it's definitely a cool thing, but it's not the reason why I do it. It's not the reason why I started it 40 years ago. Is hey, I want to get into the Hall of Fame someday. It was like not really something I ever really thought about, or I'm not even in the Wakefield Hall of Fame, so the Wakefield High School Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So I don't for whatever that's worth. I guess that's a tougher egg to crack. I don't know.
Well, just to kind of give the audience a little context, I'm pretty close with the assistant coach for Bridgewater State College right now,
Yep.
and he came through the Wilmington program in the state, and now he actively recruits kids out of Massachusetts. And I told him that you were going to be on the podcast today, and he said, there's not another coach in the state that does more for the kids that aren't even on his team than anybody else, because you're in there hosting practices before the states, hosting off-season workouts, hosting summer workouts, hosting team kids that are never going to come through your program. And you've done that now for how many years? 40 of the 42? Or
Pretty much all of them. I mean, we've always hosted practice for the states, and all the local teams love coming to our room because, we have a nice wrestling room, and we run a pretty good practice, I think. And, the kids get a good workout, and teams are lining up to come work out with us for states. And, we coach Linfield kids, Reading kids, just like we'd coach Wakefield kids. Like there's no secret sauce. We just want to see kids succeed and, fulfill their goals, or maybe find new ones that they didn't even know they could reach, So that's just kind of how we've always done it. And plus, we don't like traveling to practice. We like to stay in our own room. So that's always nice.
Well, yeah, no, and I guess now I'm just exceptionally curious because you must have had, I don't even know if I have a good reference point of there must be hundreds, is it thousands of kids?
your program always has 20 to 30 to 40
I'd say
kids.
we probably average 30 kids over 40 years, so whatever that 1,200 kids, whatever that is, a lot. Yeah, a lot of kids.
Hundreds and
A
hundreds.
lot of kids. I mean, it's got to be over 1,000 for sure. I mean, we've had some down years, we've had some big years, but usually it's around 30. I would say. Last few years, it's been over 40, which has been nice.
Is wrestling growing?
Seems like it. Well, we have girls wrestling now too, so we've had some girls starting to compete. We got 2 on the team this year. We had a New England qualifier last year who's actually wrestling at Bridgewater State with Fox, and so we've had a girls state champ, and two girls state champs. The girl last year was a state champ, and we had one back when my sons were in high school. She was a freshman, state champ when she was a freshman. Then she had injury problems, so it's definitely growing.
So when I was there, your sons were just old enough to just barely be on the mat. And I can remember them very fondly, just being on the mat, doing whatever little kids do. But what was it like coaching them?
It was, by the time they were seniors, it was great. First 3 years, it's kind of nerve-wracking. You're worried. I'm worried about, am I getting the most out of all the kids? But when you got them at home, and it's like, am I getting the most out of my own sons? Am I pushing them too much? Am I not pushing them enough? And they were both 3-sport athletes, which is what I wanted. I did not want them to focus on one sport. They were football, wrestling, and baseball. And by the time they got then we had a COVID year, which they lost because they put wrestling in the spring season, so they had to play baseball. I mean, that's a cut sport. You can't skip a baseball season to wrestle. Like, nobody understands that. So I got that. So they lost their junior year, which stunk. And then their senior year, we ended up coming out of nowhere, and we lost the state championship by 1.5 points. That's right. And they both placed, and Nathan was a state champ, and Luke took 5th, and it was a blast. That year was really fun. That was the first year I could kind of really get in Nathan's corner. Before that, I had to kind of stand off to the side because I just, I let the assistants coach him. I couldn't do it. Like,
Really?
It was just too nerve-wracking. I was just too nervous the whole time, and but it was fun. It was a lot of fun coaching them, and now they're back. When they're back from college, they help me out, and like they'll both be up at Lowell with me this weekend, coaching the kids, and so
Awesome.
it's fun. It was a lot of fun.
Very cool.
But yeah, I mean, they've been in the room since they were, infants, like babies.
Yeah.
I'd put them in the side corner. That's what people say they can't coach because they have kids. I used to put them in the corner of the room and leave them in their car seats and run practice. So they've always been there. They always know the whistles and heard everything. So it was fun. It was a fun ride. It really was.
So, I mean, I don't do a whole lot of wrestling, but I do some jujitsu, and I have an essence of what it's like to be on the mat and be in that like one-on-one kind of conversation with someone, and it's so hard. And even me, I roll with wrestlers, and I'm like, these people are a little different. What is it that like wrestling? I guess like you've been doing it for so long, you've been seeing it for so long. I mean, what does it teach people?
I think it teaches them a lot of things. I think it teaches them the benefit of hard work. It teaches them accountability, goal setting. I mean, it's a sport you have to work really, really hard at just to be bad at it. So it's like it's real. Like people don't realize just how difficult it is. I mean, like football, you got pads on, a helmet on, you got 10 guys behind you. Wrestling, you're basically out there, basically in your underwear, one-on-one in front of a huge crowd. It can be nerve-wracking. It teaches you a lot of discipline, nutrition, working out, watching your weight. I mean, weight cutting's not a great part of the sport, but it's the only way we have to separate, so there has to be weight classes. So it gets a bad rap, but, it can be done right. And nobody really cuts weight anymore, not like they used to, not like we did.
No. I laugh sometimes when people say that they're cutting 4 pounds. Oh, okay, good luck with that.
I think I cut more weight my senior year than my entire team this year is cutting combined. So, that's just reality. But I think it teaches, I think it just, you have an edge over somebody else. If the guy that you're interviewing for at a job has any kind of a wrestling background, they see that you wrestled on your resume, you have an instant like edge on someone else because they know what you've been through. Yeah. And it's hard, and it's a lot of hard work, and it's very rewarding when you reach your goals, but it's also a sport that you get literally every ounce to the ounce you get out of it what you put into it. So if you put a JV effort in, you get a JV result. If you put a state championship effort into it, maybe you get to the state finals and are competing. So
yeah, and you preach that all the way through.
All the way through. All the way through. I tell the team, I just told them the other day, there's 3 types of kids that make up a program, and I need all 3. There's a kid that wants a T-shirt, there's a kid that wants to be the starter, and there's a kid that wants to be the champ. But don't act like the kid that wants the T-shirt when tell me you want to be a state champ. You gotta own which one you are. You got to live with it, or you got to work to change it. But I need all 3 of those kids to have a program. Like to have a team, yeah, you may only need 1 group of those, but for a program, I need all 3. That's my opinion.
And you've never turned anybody away.
Never. I just got a letter in the mail, like an old school snail mail letter from a kid who wrestled for me back in like 2006, that had cerebral palsy, and still does, obviously. But he's like just congratulating me on the Hall of Fame and just reminiscing about how, in his words, how bad he was. But he got through it, and he still has still lives lessons. Trying to keep his body moving as best as he can now. He's got to be in his 30s, late 30s by now, and that means a lot. Like I don't think a lot of coaches get those letters, And I mean that's a kid with a severe physical disadvantage, and he got through it, and we loved him. We treated him just like any other kid on the team. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was definitely a cool letter. I think he lives right in Ann Arbor, Michigan now or something. Like he's, and he's just like, I still remember one specific match that he mentioned, and you remember Coach Lauria.
Yeah.
And the way he was narrating the match, I can remember it. I can remember me and Anthony screaming at him in the match to shoot because it was the match he could win, and he just he just couldn't pull the trigger, and ended up losing like 3-2 or something. But we're like, that was the one. That was the one you could have won, So it was a pretty cool letter. It brought back. I actually read him back now that I think of it because it brought back a lot of memories that from that season.
Amazing.
Yeah, he was just a nice kid. Like for the most part, they all are. Like there's a lot of the administrators will say, "Oh, this kid's a problem. This kid's a problem." They're never a problem with us because you got to work. It's just too humbling. Like you can't be a jerk and get through wrestling practice.
Right.
You can be the biggest, toughest guy in the school, and you're going to get beat up by somebody who you may not perceive as being the very, very tough or very strong. So.
Well, it also speaks to the culture that you built.
Yeah.
When people come in there, they have to follow suit.
Yeah, and we run a pretty loose room because wrestling's so hard. They don't need to hear 40, 50-year-old guys screaming at them for 3 hours. We try to keep it short and sweet. Try to keep it around an hour and a half, and keep it light. If they want to play music, play music. Just when we're talking, listen. That's all we. That's really the only thing we care about is just so we can get our point across. But for the most part, you've been in our rooms. Our rooms of practice are pretty light.
Oh,
but they get their work done.
the way that you use humor is, I like to follow suit when I get to coach. I feel like you're right. It's such a grind, and to come in day out, and even spend just 90 minutes every single day, beating your head up against the wall, or your drilling partner. Like you said, the last thing you need is someone yelling over your shoulder.
Yeah, it doesn't. It just doesn't work. It's like we try to keep it pretty light and pretty fun, and it's like it's roughhousing with your buddies. It should be fun. It's just got some rules.
Yeah.
It's such a refreshing take to say that you need all types of people with varying interests in the sport, because you're right. It's like, what do you call it? It's an individual team sport. I don't know what the term is, but you need the team because you need someone to get better and train with. But at the end of the day, it is kind of you versus yourself, and in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's one-on-one at a time. But in the practice room, we need practice partners. We need kids that I've had I got a kid this year. He's like, I don't want to compete, but he's great in the room. So I'm like, it just prompts me you won't quit because you're great in practice, And he's like, there's no way I'll quit. I just, some kids, it's tough, It's a lot of mental work going on in the sport, and last thing I want to do is make the kid miserable, So.
I think it's interesting. Yeah, I never wanted to compete in jiu-jitsu when the environment, the stakes were super high. But as the second I step into an environment where it's like, well, you can do it if you want to, then I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it.
Right.
I think that's such an important thing. And, I would love to pick your brain about the mental game just in general. I think that's the biggest. And we just had a conversation on ego. And how that gets in the way of so many different things. But obviously wrestling and ego, and wrestling and jiu-jitsu and ego go together. You have to figure it out.
Yeah, your ego can be humbled pretty quick in wrestling, and whether it's in practice or whether it's in in a match or whatever, it can go south pretty quick. You can have the biggest ego in the world, and somebody puts a beating on you, and it's like, wow, I don't feel so good about that now, But it happens. It happens a lot. It's it's a very humbling sport, and with jiu-jitsu now and MMA, and I think that's why our numbers have I think it's building up again, having a little bit of a resurgence. I was telling my wife we have like 6 Brazilian kids on the team this year. I didn't even know there was 6 Brazilian families in Wakefield, and they're all like. Once you get them to stop pulling guard, they come out to be pretty good. But they do love being on their back. But that doesn't work in our sport.
That's so funny.
And then you get the other kids that just they're watching UFC every weekend. I'm going to train MMA. I'm like, well, for the most part, it seems like the wrestlers have a bit of a leg up, with that stuff, just because of the takedown game. Yeah. And from what I hear I've never done jiu-jitsu, but from what I hear, the wrestlers walk in and they're like immediately a problem on your feet.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that the sport of wrestling, like you said, it requires so much work just to be bad at.
Yeah, for sure.
It's tough to explain that to other people that have different rule sets, because the grind Like, you're not a good wrestler. Okay, well, you've still got 100 hours of being not a good wrestler under your belt, and then
You're
go,
okay.
Yeah, then you go against someone that's never done it, and they're like, "Wow, you're really good at this." And you're like, "Not really, but I've at least been in this position 100 hours worth of time."
Right. And that's what it is. It's just repetition, muscle memory, just getting your body fit. Basically, is the hardest part with the high school kids. It's just they all think they're they all got beach muscles, but beach muscles don't win wrestling matches.
It's crazy the level of skill and depth that goes into something like that, right? Like newer white belt comes into jiu-jitsu and I can see they're like actually trying with me, like as if there's a chance. But the reality is that I'm however many hours, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 hours in, and they can't even comprehend the amount of how far behind they actually are.
Right.
And the same thing with wrestling. I go against a wrestler and I'm like, I've done this a lot. I've done a lot of stand-up, but comparatively, one high school season is enough to just blow all of my stand-up in those 10 years out of the water, which is insane.
Well, one high school season, you're probably shooting 2,000 takedowns,
which is
maybe more. Maybe probably more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of the things I was always blown away by with jiu-jitsu compared to wrestling is like, at least, I'm exposed to it as old man jiu-jitsu, right? Like I didn't start as a kid. Maybe it's different. Although I see the kids, wrestling is just about constantly drilling.
Yeah.
Right. Like, at least that's the way that you taught, and it seems to be working very well. Like constantly drilling. Take this move and drill it 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 until you can't get it wrong.
And that's the hardest thing to get high school kids to learn is how to drill.
Yeah.
Because my son wrestles as a wrestler at Johnson and Wales, and they do the same stuff. They just do it better. Like they just do it better, and that's what college. Division I college wrestlers. There's no secret sauce. There's no secret move that only Penn State knows or only Iowa knows. It's all the same stuff. They just do it more and they do it better. And that's the main difference in the sport. And it's like you can get good. You can get good. It's just a lot of work.
The funny thing for me, being this person, I can tell you, this is specifically who I was not the person that grew up loving wrestling. In fact, I didn't know anything about it. They grabbed me after the end of freshman, my last game of freshman football. Huey was his name. Right?
Yeah.
I don't even know why they called him Huey, except that he was like 300 pounds.
Matt Hewlett.
That's what his name? Okay, there we go. So this is why Ross is so cool. He remembers.
I
This is
remember.
1996 season,
Yeah.
right? And he remembers exactly who I'm talking about.
That's crazy.
Like grabbed me and was like, "You're gonna come wrestle." And I remember being like, "Nah, I got nothing going on." So I showed up on day one, and you had to learn quickly to love it, right? And if there was someone there saying, you're brand new to the sport, you're not going to be good for 2.5 years, and I don't really know. I wasn't good for 2.5 years.
No,
But,
it didn't take that long. It didn't take that long.
and you're going to get beat up by all of the kids on the team and all the things that eventually happened. If it wasn't for somebody like him that didn't care if I won, didn't care that I wasn't going to be a state champ, just cared that I was there trying to figure out what it is, I would have never grown to love the sport the way I do. And then to take it even further, to just spend the countless hours, with me specifically, he drove me to off-season tournaments, open mats. I just asked him before the podcast if I got to go to nationals, which was a really cool experience for me. And I remember they did a bunch of fundraising for me because we couldn't afford it. And I just asked them, honest man to man, did you just pay for that?
No, we did raise the money.
Okay.
We did raise the money. I would have paid for it.
I believe that. I'm still not sure you didn't just pay for it.
I did not. I would tell you.
Okay.
I would tell you.
But
I was a 24-year-old college student when I don't know if I would have been able to afford it either, to be honest with you. However old I was when you were
28.
probably must have been
27, 28.
Yeah, 27, 28-year-old. So yeah, I was just getting married and yeah, I definitely did not. We definitely raised a lot of money for you, but you also have sat at my kitchen table where I made you do your homework for 2 hours too.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, you welcomed me into the family.
That doesn't change it now. So I still have kids sitting at my kitchen table. My daughter helping them with their homework.
Really?
Yeah. Wow. Just not too long ago, right before the season started. So.
And the interesting thing that I think the people should know is I'm sure, I'm not there, but I remember for me, it wasn't just to keep me eligible. It was still so that I could get good grades and be a good student. And I think that sometimes that gets lost in translation.
The eligibility standard is not enough.
Right.
It's not good enough. You know, you could have pretty bad grades and still be eligible. It's not okay. So,
what's the biggest barrier that a lot of the kids run into as they try to navigate? I mean, the hard sport that is wrestling. What do they run into, and how do they navigate through that? How do you help them through whatever it is?
I mean, I think we just, like I said, we just provide a comfortable environment for them and just try to, like, hey, you need help with, like, we got your backs, Plus, they're kids. They're going to make mistakes. We've had kids that get caught doing stupid stuff and have to serve out the suspensions. And I don't turn my back on them. Like, you come back, you serve, you suspend, you do the crime, you do the time. When you're done, you're welcome back. And obviously we try to not let that happen. I would say probably in 40 years, it's probably been maybe 10 kids that have got suspended for doing something silly.
That's pretty amazing.
Maybe a little bit more, but not a lot. And just, hey, we got your back. Come, you're a kid. You're gonna make mistakes. Yeah. It's reality. Yeah. I don't want you to make mistakes when you're an adult, because that's when they matter. All right. So hopefully they learn from it. It seems like a lot of them, there's all those kids that had troubles. Most of them have turned out pretty good, and most of them still keep in touch with us, which is cool too.
Yeah, that's got to be really cool to see I know even when I pop in the room, just to see all the kids that have come back. Yeah. Just to be in the environment and say hello to you. And
we probably had 7 kids in the practice room the last 2 days, just coming back from college. This just all starting to come back, just pop their head in the room, try to relive their glory.
It doesn't hurt to beat up on the high school kids either.
Yeah, some of them can't score on one of my kids, but we get it's not from a lack of trying, that's for sure. So, and some of them come back and coach with me too. So I got 2 kids that are helping us out coaching this year that were multiple time state place winners for us, and just love coming back and hanging out, learning how to coach. Take Nathan to the Lowell Holiday seating meeting on Thursday, so I try to teach him the family business. So you got to get out of it at some point.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I never even thought about it, but now not only is he teaching the athletes how to wrestle and how to be young men and quality young men, but now your coaching tree is expanding.
Yeah, it sure is. I got a guy head coach at Malden Catholic was a captain for me. All the guys coaching with me, it's over the years. It's pretty cool. It's nice to see.
Growing your influence on
you
the
were
sport.
Coaching for a while.
For a long time, yeah.
For a long time. Or Mike Arangio up in Maine, been coaching for a while. It's pretty cool. Micah Canistaro out in California was coaching. It's pretty cool.
And I think that just speaks to the love of the sport, that he helps you learn and grow.
That's what it is. It's the love of the sport. I mean, you talk about how bad you think you were when you were wrestling in high school. I was worse. So I was not a good wrestler. No. I just have a better mind for the sport than I ever did a body for it. So, I mean, I was okay, but, my junior and senior year, but you placed at states. I never came close.
Oh, wow.
So, it is what it is. I did put in the hours for 4 years, but I didn't have the talent that most of the kids I coach have. So,
do you think that helps you be a better coach?
Oh, I think so, 100%. Because I know I'm very, very aware of where I came from, and I don't expect, unrealistic things from kids, because I've been there. I've had my face in the mat. I've, cut too much weight the wrong way. I've done everything, So I've sat on the mat with my head in my hands after the last match at sectionals, wondering where I went wrong. I've been there. I still remember it like it was yesterday. So,
do you have like a good memorable moment of where like, I don't know, either yourself or MJ or some other student kind of like, I don't know, had a moment of growth, like something that you found to be like pretty fulfilling? I guess I'm just curious about those. I mean, you have a good memory. I can already tell.
There's a lot of them. Just like seeing my assistant coach's son unseated at the states. Pin his way into the state finals. That was Anthony's son.
Nice.
That was pretty memorable, like unexpected and memorable. Your team, your senior year, junior year. Senior year was the first time we ever, as a team, won a North sectional title, and that was, we just went on a run. The kids just wrestled out of their minds, and we were pinning kids that pinned us earlier in the year, and that's pretty memorable. That was the first title we had. So I think actually before that in '99, when we won the Middlesex League tournament.
Yep.
And we just went on a roll and started pinning people in the consolation bracket. And that was the first time, it wasn't a dual meet, but it was the first time we'd ever beaten Winchester in any type of competition. So that was pretty cool. And, and then, I don't know, it's just, there's so many things, over the years, so many kids and so many stories. And, my own son winning a state title was about the coolest thing that I've ever been a part of, and then wrestling in college and watching him wrestle in college. It's watching you wrestle in college, like, and it hasn't been a lot. Out of 40 years of being involved in the sport, there's probably a dozen kids that have wrestled in college, maybe, or so, it's just so much harder at that level. It's like so much more of a time commitment, and so you just have to be, we've had some good kids, but it just shows you how it ramps up as the levels go up,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's just so many. I mean, if I have all day, Mike and I will talk, go over old stories from just when he wrestled, the 4 years that he was on the team. We can go on for a while, and most of them are either, like feel good stories or hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like there's not too many bad ones,
Yeah.
And a couple kids that got away, but like, it's just not for everybody, We have the saying in our room: if it was easy, everybody would do it. It's painted on the wall in our wrestling room, and it's very true. It's very, very not easy.
I got a funny one for you. Something that stuck with me. I just remember, this was years after I was stopped when I was done. I came back and was watching. I came back. I think it was to the Lusitano tournament, and there was this kid out there wrestling. And for those of you who don't know, in high school at least, you wear headgear on your ears, so you can't hear anything anyways. And this mom was just screaming, "Get up, get up." And finally, the Ross looks at her and he's like, "He can't hear you, and he's not listening."
That sounds like something I might say.
It was so funny. I remember being like, "Yeah, no, that's accurate."
And he probably doesn't know what you're saying. He can't do it anyways. So.
And he's not even capable, even if he heard you. It's so funny. I just remember being like, "That's Ross for you." You just can tell it like it is.
Yeah, it must be so true. You can't hear anything out there on the mat.
No, especially not at a tournament where there's 4 whistles going off and everybody's screaming.
And when you're losing, you're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So you're not listening anyways. And then,
Yeah.
and the only thing parents ever yell is "Get up."
Yeah,
Just
that's it,
stand
because they
up.
don't know what they're saying.
Right,
So,
solid advice, Mom.
I did remember one, probably just thought of it just now. One of the coolest things from when so the boys were 4, my twins. Emma was 1.5. So the boys were 4. That put me like 36, 37. Me and the boys both wrestled in a tournament in Maine. They wrestled in the pre-K division. I wrestled in the open division.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it was the entire gym stopped when I'm on the mat because there's the 2 chuckleheads sitting in the corner screaming, "Go, Daddy, go!" And I can't see because I'm so out of shape. And forget about not hearing. I couldn't see anything. So that was pretty cool. I wanted to do one tournament with my boys, and we went way up to Camden, Maine.
That's awesome.
Away from anybody around here, so nobody would know me.
Awesome.
And that's probably one of my cooler things that, as
Very
far as
cool.
coaching goes.
That's awesome.
And you were still on the mat quite a bit. I mean, I know you wrestled when I was there. You wrestled every day with me.
Yeah, Father Time's taken over, so I don't get on the mat as much as I used to. But I definitely was a hands-on coach back in the day when I could, when I was younger.
Yeah, Fox calls you the CEO now.
Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. I make sure everything logistically is ready to go and make practice plans ready. And Bosco, my assistant coach, has been great. He comes up with a practice plan. He always sends it to me. I can't remember the last time I said no, but so that runs pretty smooth. And then, buses and physicals and where's so-and-so, somebody needs a ride, you go get him. It's like just trying to get everybody there. And, like I said, they're kids and sports has changed. It's not people's first priority anymore. So sometimes we have to go a little extra to make sure everybody gets there, and send a captain that's on wait. Hey, go pick up so and so and come back. I know you're going to be late. That's fine. So
that's an interesting thing to think about, like how it's changed. I mean, you've been doing it for so long, and so you've seen changes. Not only just like, I mean, everything's changed, and from like the demeanor to like work ethic to focus to. What are you noticing now? Like, what stands out to you the most?
Kids just have way more distractions now. I mean, I'm sure everybody sees it. There's just way more things to do. Like when I was a kid, to a lesser extent when you were a kid, but still more so than now. There wasn't anything else to do. Like what are you going to do for hours? You're going to go home and flip between 3 channels that we had on TV. Like it just wasn't happening. Now these kids just, it's just really tough to get them to focus on something that's important to you and find a way to make it important to them. Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest challenge right now is it's so easy to do nothing right now. It's like really, really easy. It's never been easier.
Oh, right.
And that's the biggest challenge that I see with not just with wrestling, any high school sport, really. I mean, my daughter plays basketball at Wakefield. She's the only senior. Like, when have you ever remembered there being one senior on any sport at Wakefield High School? You know, it's like, just doesn't happen. Wow. But here we are, Wow. So there's just so many other things to do for these kids, like jobs, cars, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever, it's.
Or nothing, like you said, like
or just
scrolling your phone.
Just scrolling on your phone and doing nothing, like it's. And for us to still have numbers, like that makes me happy, but it's like, where's so-and-so? He didn't have a ride. Well, we have a group text with 36 people on it, and 20 of them drive, so it should be hard. Not to mention Wakefield's 3 square miles, so you should be able to get here. Should be able to get here.
Are they cognizant of all the distractions? Do they ever bring that up to you, like, hey, this is really hard?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're always, yeah. I mean, they don't say it like that, but you can tell, and it's, we've had a month in almost now, and we've only lost 1 kid, so we've gained a few and lost 1. So, it's like they want something to do. It's just then they realize how hard it is, and they're like, whoa, what did I get myself into here? But yeah, I mean, they don't say it, but you can tell it doesn't take a brain surgeon to see that they're distracted. Get kids, we're trying to focus on one technique and they're pulling stuff off of TikTok, and flopping around on their backs. It's like, that's the new problem is TikTok wrestling. So they pick up these moves on TikTok that D1 wrestlers can do, and we just can't do that.
Or just like fake unrealistic. I see that like jiu-jitsu all the time. I'm like, this position would never happen. It looks cool, but that's it's such an unrealistic position.
Right. If you're going from stop and saying start like this, then you can get in that position. But like these kids aren't getting in those positions.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, it's going to be we're in a rebuilding year this year. We've reloaded for the last 8 to 10 years, and this year we're kind of rebuilding a little bit, so it's a little more challenging.
We've had quite a bit of success the last 8 years, right?
Yeah. We finished 3rd in the state 3 years in a row, and 2 of those years we lost out. 2 years in a row we were 3rd. Last year we were 2nd. We finally took home a state trophy finally, and my son's senior year, which is 2022, the first year coming off of COVID, we finished 3rd, but by 1.5 points out of 1st. So it was, racking our brains over 2 days. We couldn't find one pin, you know.
Couldn't get one extra
One pin's
bonus
2
point.
points, you know. But, you know, it's like I said, it's more than that. Those are fun. Those are nice. They're cool to talk about. But, you know, you take 11 kids to states and 7 of them come home with medals. Like, well, how upset can I be?
Right.
You know, like, that's what we want. We just want the kids to get your hand raised. You know, if you can't pin them, get your hand raised. You know, it's a team sport, but it's highly individual. Highly individual.
You know, I think it's always awesome to talk to you because of how humble you are. But if you really just identified all the things that you do for these kids, I don't think that there's other coaches out there that do those things. Maybe some of them,
Yeah.
but it seems like it's just a natural thing for you. Just
I don't look at it like that. Like, you know, like how much I can do for this kid or how much I can do. It's just this kind of how I do it. Like, it's just like it's just flow. I don't think about it. It's just the way, you know, like, you know, they're like, oh, so-and-so's afraid to talk to you. But what are you afraid to talk to me about? You know, like, when have I ever said no? You know, like, so it's, yeah, I don't go into it with that approach, but that's just the way I do it. You know, it's just the way I've always done it. I'm not thinking, oh, I hope this kid talks well of me and speaks well of me in 10 years. You know what I mean? Just not how I do it. It's just, I don't know. It's just, like I said, the sport's so hard. I just don't want to make it worse.
I got a super vivid memory of me. I wrestled this kid in Woburn High School, and I beat him. I kept hitting that low single over and over again, and I beat him pretty handily. And then I wrestled him the next week at the Middlesex League tournament, and I lost to him. And I remember being super shook up about it, and going into the coach's office, and just you being in there. And I think I might have even been crying, and just getting a big hug. And I remember what it meant to me was like, yeah, I was upset, and I was upset that I let the team down because it was in the tournament and all that stuff. But knowing that you were there to just give me a hug and say that, like, that's just how it goes. You know, just what it is. You're going to win and you're going to lose, and you might win and lose to the same person. That stuck with me for till today. I'm telling you about it right now. But I can remember vividly, like, being in the office and just getting a hug from your coach, and like what that meant to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's the nature of the sport. You know, they're out there. Your opponent's out there trying to do the same thing to you that you're trying to do to them. You know, and sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, and you know, we try to prepare you to win more than you lose, but sometimes there's a lot of other factors. You know, injuries, sickness. I mean, it's
Get up in your own head.
Yeah, you know, you're out thinking yourself. Like, it's just, you know, I remember, you know, back when you were competing, it's like, you know, just trying to keep you focused and don't, you know, stop looking at the brackets, stop looking at, you know, if I beat this kid, then I wrestle this kid. If I lose to this kid, I'm going to drop down and wrestle this kid. I'm like, stop looking at the brackets, you know. I had a kid my first year coaching. I had to at Lowell. I had to, every time I saw him go over by the brackets, I had to pick him off and intercept him. Like, get away from the brackets, you know. And he ended up placing at Lowell, which is, as you know, ridiculously difficult to do.
Very difficult to do.
And I'm like, you got to stop looking to see who you're wrestling next. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like you can't think about it, you know. And that's a hard part for a lot of kids. And my own kids were like that. You know, my son Nathan was always a bracket watcher, and you know, I'm like, stop looking at the brackets. You're gonna beat the kid. You know, like, how do you know? Because I know. You know? Probably 98% accuracy on before you even walk on the mat. You know, I know who's going to come off with the hand raised.
Wow, that's interesting that you can. And when you're speaking of this accuracy, does it take in all the things, like their mental, their physical? Yeah, you're getting pretty good at that.
How they prepared, how their week of practice was, how they're, you know, who they're choosing to work out with in the practice room. Because, you know, you can always find somebody that you can whoop up on in the practice room, but, you know, you can't always find that somebody on another team, you know. So, but yeah, it's come a long way. I mean, you were definitely one of my earlier teams, and my first team that really we had any success with. And the first team we had some immediate success because we just had, you know, I was just blessed with what was left over from when I took over. You know, it wasn't anything that we had built or anything. It was just, you know, and then you guys came along, and I mean, we were good. That was probably an 8-year run with you in the middle of it, you know, and then we just had another 8, you know, probably 6, 8, 10-year run, whatever it was, where we've been ultra competitive. And, you know, I'm not saying we won't be competitive. We just finished second in our tournament, which, you know, surprised me because I was figuring with, you know, I got 2 guys coming back from ACL tears that didn't wrestle all last year, and I didn't know how they'd fare, and they did really well, and some unproven guys that did really well, and it's like, wow, maybe, you know, maybe we got something here, you know. But we're gonna really find out this weekend.
Yeah.
You know,
The best of the best.
yeah, we're gonna really find out this weekend. And I have, you know, I got a 2-time state champ looking for his 3rd, and hopefully we can get it for him. Like, that'd be pretty cool. Like, he's pretty driven. He works hard. He works hard year round. You know, so we'll see what happens. But it's been a wild ride, that's for sure. It's been a long ride. It's been pretty cool that, you know, there's a lot of people that, you know, I ran into a wrestler at my daughter's basketball game Friday night. I didn't recognize him, but once he said his name, of course I remembered him. But, you know, and it's like, I'm like, wow, that was a long time ago. You know? He's got married, 2 kids, you know, doesn't even look close to the same. I'm like, wow, all right. So now I'm starting to coach kids of kids that I
Really?
that I coached.
You got some?
Yeah, I have, not this year, but we had him when he was in 8th grade. He ended up at the Vogue, but yeah, Joe Morrow's son.
Very
was
cool.
One of the first ones, yeah. Pretty weird, but
So you can't stop now. Then
well,
you got a whole nother
I don't know,
generation to go.
We'll see. You know, we'll see. It's a grind. It's the longest season. You know, the winter season's the longest season.
Yeah.
It's almost, with wrestling, it's almost 3 full months. You know, fall is like, you know, September and October, and you're done. You know, for most sports, not football, obviously, but, you know, baseball is like. You know,
And let's face it,
April
you
and
do
May.
it all. You coach all season, all year.
I'm always scouting and watching wrestling and college. It's like, you know, I don't ski. I don't, you know, I have nothing else to do in the winter. I don't like the cold particularly, so, you know, better off being in a gym. You know, but it's been fun. It's been a wild ride. It really has. And, you know, I appreciate guys like you know, and recognizing the Hall of Fame thing, but I'm not walking around with like a banner, you know what I mean, celebrating it, you know.
You should start signing it HOF.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'll be doing that. I don't think I'll be doing that anytime soon. But
Well,
yeah, it's I don't know. It's one of those things. I didn't get into this for this, so I don't know how to respond to it, you know. So it's like, it's just weird.
yeah, interesting. When I think of Hall of Fame people, that's where I would put you.
Oh, I appreciate it.
So-
You know, a lot of people say similar things, which is nice. But, you know, I'd feel a little bit more confident if we won 2 out of those 3 state titles instead of, you know, going into it. But we didn't. So what are you going to do?
Well, there's nobody more deserving in the way that you've helped kids, specifically me. And, you know, I can guarantee you there's 1,200 plus kids out there that feel the same way I did.
I hope so. I mean, if that's, you know, if I was just remembered for that, that would be fine. You know, like, it's just trying to make, you know, I grew up in Wakefield. I coach in Wakefield. I live in Wakefield. You know, I just want it to be a better place than it was when I was there, you know. And hopefully that's the way it's going, you know.
It certainly is.
We'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's, you know, it's nice to even see the humility, because I think that's what 40 years in wrestling does to you. You have to be a little humble to like survive that sport, and so certainly you breed the essence of humility and humbleness. So it's always good to hear from you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming down.
Thanks for having me.
Well, this will come out probably sometime in January.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I want to talk more about the Hall of Fame, but I know you don't. So
Well,
I'm going to let it go.
You can talk about it if you want. I'll answer the questions. I'm just not going to offer the information.
Well, you're a Hall of Famer in my book, my friend,
Thank you.
and you always
I
have been.
appreciate
And everything you've done for me, including helping me with my homework and giving me someplace to sit on Thanksgiving every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know, all of these fun memories.
It's funny. I still remember you sitting at the kitchen table. I think I was still living with my mother at the time.
You were, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true. And yeah, it just, the work ethic, the coaching, the way you approach the tough things, they all rubbed off. So thank you very much, and thank you for all the other kids that you've done that for.
I appreciate it. It's been awesome to see you turn into who you are. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, we will we'll catch you next time. Yeah. Well, we'll see you guys next time. If you want to be on the podcast, or if somebody you think we should talk to, do all the things and let us all know.
Thanks.